Anybody out there? Click on the messages and let me know if anything is going on. Arkham Asylum, evil twin. Well, it helps to have a brother. I do have a brother. I actually have two brothers. All right. Anthony C., howdy back. Daniel Gross, Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia. There's got to be some great roads out there. Good. Paul, thank you for letting me know because I always have issues with these live streams. It seems to change every time I do it. So let's see here. Mike, YQR, good evening. AK Jimbo 1, San Jose, California. I love that area. My son went to Santa Clara, and we do love that area. Don't get down there nearly as often as I would like to. I'm not seeing any questions right now, so I'm going to throw a few out to you folks. How do you feel about EVs? Personally, there's all this chatter about, the grid isn't going to support it, and there aren't enough mines for the batteries and all that kind of stuff. But the reality is everything is ramping up. Everything is happening. It's going to happen slowly. Right now, demand certainly outstrips supply of the EVs. Part of that is the microchip shortage and the supply chain shortage, which is probably going to be going on for at least another year before it really starts loosening up. All right, let's see here. Greetings from the nation's capital. A lot of interesting stuff happening there today. Paul has owned EVs since 2015, currently drive an Ioniq 5. Of course you love it. The Ioniq 5 is a very, very good vehicle. I really like it. I have a hard time choosing between that and the EV6, which my father bought. I just kind of like the driving dynamics of the EV6. And I kind of like the exterior styling a little bit better, but I do like the Ioniq 5. The Ioniq 6, however, which I have not seen in person, looks like it's going to be super interesting. I know people that have seen it in person, and they say it's actually gorgeous. I know a lot of people don't like that look, the way the back end drops off, but people who've seen it say it's great. Need more affordable EVs. Well, Daniel, what is your idea of an affordable EV? We have the Leaf, and we have both the Bolt EV and the EUV. Fully loaded in EUV with Super Cruise, right? Heated and vented seats is about $37,000. I'm actually getting one tomorrow just for a quick reevaluation of it. I don't know what else you want. Obviously it doesn't charge as fast as some of the other ones, but it's an incredible deal. The only real issue is that charge speed. And if you're not traveling, if you're charging at home, it's really not an issue. How will we dispose of all the batteries? Magneto? We won't. We will recycle them. Those minerals and those elements are way too valuable to throw into a landfill. Even now, there is a lot of competition over who gets those batteries that are being recycled. Some people want them for power walls. I know there are a number of people that are taking like old Prius batteries, old hybrid batteries, and putting those together and making power walls out of those. the recyclers want it too, because that's the way we're going to keep these things affordable. I really don't think that's as big an issue as it is. There are already multiple companies that have sprung up to recycle those batteries. Okay, let me see here. Any opinions on which makers have the best massage seats? God, I know that there's one of them, and I'm not thinking of it right now. Stay tuned. I'll keep thinking about that in the back of my head. I think Jaguar had really good massaging seats. Mercedes does too. Um, Egan, yeah, Snowy Edmonds. That's a little bit snowy here too. I just got a Lexus LX, big honkin' SUV delivered yesterday, and I didn't want to take it out in the snow simply because it's too expensive. I think it's $125,000. Um, Fox owned Model 3 and Y performance models 1 year each. In the end, it was too easy and I got bored. Okay. They're fun. I mean, obviously, electric cars have that low center of gravity that makes them a lot of fun to drive. It's the thing that Porsche and Mazda with their Miata always went for, trying to lower that center of gravity. EVs are great, barely any maintenance. This is true. And not only is there no gasoline engine or transmission to maintain, your brakes are probably going to last a lot longer too, simply because you're using regenerative braking to stop the vehicle. So you're not wearing out those physical brakes the way you would regular car. Mr. Ratchet, yeah. Outlander plug-in hybrid. Yep. Plug-in hybrids are an excellent way to dip your toe into the electric vehicle world. Thing is, I own two plug-in hybrids, so I would know. Both of them need oil changes every 2 years or so. But there is a gas engine to maintain. So that is the one downfall of a plug-in hybrid. The flexibility is great. Just give me an EV hot hatch already. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I would like to see that. Looking forward to the EV6 GT. Yes, I am. I'm going to be driving it at a racetrack in Las Vegas 10 days from now. So look forward to that. Next week, I'm going to go drive the new Toyota Prius. And I'm looking forward to that because it has gone from the weirdest looking car on the market to what looks to be a very lovely design, very sleek. It has the windshield rake of a Lamborghini. Seriously, somebody on Twitter put those back to back. Jordan Truppner, sorry. You gave me $5 and I said your name wrong, but thank you very much. I do appreciate it. I do try to keep these things very engaging and trying to give you some good information. And, the money helps because I need to buy gas and all that kind of stuff. Let's see here. If you're not spending at least 50 grand, you're not upper echelon. You know what? There are plenty of good cars out there for $40,000 and up. I am not particularly brand loyal, nor am I really much into the luxury brands. I mean, I like a Porsche just as much as the next guy, just simply because of their engineering and all. But badges really don't impress me all that much. What really impresses me is when an automaker can make an affordable car for the masses that's desirable. Things that people would really, really want. The Volkswagen GTI, perfect example. That's a car that's, somewhere around the neighborhood of $40,000. Fun to drive. It's useful. You want to drive that car. So that's really what I'm into. Am I enjoying the weather today in Minnesota? It snowed. Of course it did. It's Minnesota. I mean, I grew up in Duluth, so I would know better. That license plate behind me, that is proof. That's the last Minnesota license plate I ever got. Uh, Tom, have I driven the Fisker Ocean and Volkswagen ID Buzz? Uh, I have not. And so I cannot give you my opinion on that. Sorry, would like to drive the ID Buzz, but was not invited to the gig over in Europe because I'm an independent. I'm not one of the big guys like Car and Driver and Motor Trend. What are my thoughts about the upcoming Chevrolet SUV EVs? If you're talking about the Equinox and the Blazer, I think those are awesome. And that is exactly what people want. One, they're affordable. I think the Equinox with destination and the smaller battery is going to start at about $31,500. I looked at one of the fancy ones with all-wheel drive. I think that's going to probably be in the neighborhood of 40 grand. My son is actually thinking about buying one of those. It's exactly what people want. It's the size of a Honda CRV, and they're roomy, they're quick, and there's less maintenance. And I'll talk more about the General Motors Ultium battery later. Fox 1105. Thanks, man. I really do appreciate it. I don't like to ask for money, but you guys are great. By the way, whenever I go to these events, I literally have other auto writers say, "Do you edit your comments?" And I don't. You guys are a great group. You really, truly are. I don't have millions of followers, but the ones that I have are awesome. Really, you guys are great. The other auto writers are jealous, as they should be. So again, Fox, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. McCrookline, I'm looking to get an SUV EV, but I feel the choice is still quite limited. And you would be correct. Hey, these are all coming online. They're all coming to market. General Motors has a bunch of them coming out next year. The Lyric is kind of out right now. I've driven it. It's absolutely brilliant. And I'm very impressed that finally General Motors is letting Cadillac be Cadillac. It's got incredibly good design. It looks much better in person, folks. It really does. It's got exterior lighting to die for. The interior materials are quite good. I think when you see it in person, you'll be impressed. I know that I was, and everybody that was at the event was. In fact, everybody kept asking how much the vehicles that we were driving were costing because they said that this version starts at $60,000. And it was $60,000. It wasn't it starts at $60,000, but the version that you're driving is $85,000. No, they really only make it one way for now. And they're adding all-wheel drive soon. It is something you should look at if you're thinking about an EV. And I haven't driven any of the Mercedes EV SUVs except for the EQB. What are your thoughts on Lucid Air and its upcoming lower price trim? I'm always up for lower prices, that's for sure. I've driven a Lucid Air, and I didn't shoot a video on it because I really only had about a half an hour with the vehicle. And the Lucid Air rep told me that I was going to be able to get one. Hasn't made good on that yet, but I liked it a lot. If there's a mid-century modern car, that's it, right? It's pretty cool. The software design is neat. The interior is beautiful. I really like it. It is expensive, so I'm looking forward to getting a look at the less expensive one. How about the Kia EV? Why not? Actually, I think the e-GMP platform, which underpins the EV6, the Ioniq 5, the Ioniq 6, soon the EV9, and the Genesis GV60 is an excellent platform. Really, it's very, very good. It's kind of a world beater right now. I mean, I know that Tesla has the advantage, and they definitely have an advantage when it comes to the charging network. Certainly. I mean, it's really good. You plug in, you charge up, no fuss, no muss. The rest of the industry has a lot of ground to cover before they catch up with that. But I will say that unless you actually use the charging infrastructure, it doesn't really matter. And charging speed doesn't really matter because what people forget is if you're charging at home on 240 volt level 2, you plug in, and even if you're all the way empty over the night, it just charges up. So just keep that in mind when you're charging or when you're thinking about buying an electric vehicle. As far as an EV6 goes, my dad owns an EV6. He got it when it first came out. I was actually driving it as a test vehicle when he bought his, and he loves it. And he also loves being the center of attention because every place he goes where he lives, people are always stopping to ask about it. So yeah, I think the world of that platform. It's really great. Da, da, da. Let's see. I asked you a question about with my $5. Oh, sorry, Jordan. Was I more impressed with the Kia Sportage or the Toyota RAV4 Prime? I have not driven the Kia Sportage plug-in hybrid, so I'm afraid I cannot answer that. I do like the fact that Kia uses a standard transmission with their vehicles. It makes it feel more like a regular car. And right off the top of my head, I can't remember what the Kia uses it, but if you're on Twitter, will you send me a DM and I'll get back with you on that? I really do want to try out the plug-in hybrid because I'm a big fan of plug-in hybrids. I mean, if you actually plug them in every night and they get 30, 35 miles, you can easily go 10,000 miles a year on electricity alone. Saves a lot of gas, saves a lot of wear and tear on your engine. So I'm sorry I can't answer your question there, but just want to be really honest with you. I really do like the Prius Prime, the Prius Prime, the RAV4 Prime. There is going to be a Prius Prime. It's a great vehicle. In fact, my editor at the New York Times bought one and he loves it. The only problem is they're really hard to find, and you probably know that. So, you can't go wrong with the RAV4 Prime. It's an excellent vehicle. Toyota sort of knows its hybrid stuff. Hopefully that answered your question. Any Rivian videos by any chance? Jesse, no, sorry. I haven't been able to get my hands on one. There are some in my neighborhood. There are people that have them. I just haven't been able to, gather up the courage to ring their doorbell and cold call them and say, "Can I borrow your car for 2 days?" I don't think they'd really rather do that, but I'm trying because I think it's really great. I've actually interviewed Scaringe, and I've always felt like Rivian is the real deal, and they've got some really cool features on that truck. The Carrera T looks to be not a great value as the last one you tested and gushed about years ago. That's true. It seems a little expensive. It is a Porsche. I like the T versions and all, but, the reality is I want an all-around car, and I would rather it have all the sound insulation because if I bought a 911, I would be GTing it. I would be driving cross country and finding really great roads. So yes, agreed with you there. Jordan, you've been watching me since you were younger on King 5. Yeah, I love the folks at King 5. I am very proud to be a King 5 alum. I would love to see you test a Lexus GX. Probably not. I probably won't, because it is a dinosaur. And, I need to kind of stay current. I need to look at stuff that's new. I've heard some chatter over the last couple of days that the infotainment system in that vehicle is practically from the 70s. That it's terrible. So I probably won't. I do have the LX. It's just parked outside, and so I will be doing that. Sorry, not going to do the GX. Do you think GM will sell the newly unveiled Chinese compact EV sedan in the United States? I don't know. I'm thinking not, just because it's a sedan, and the reality is Americans are not buying sedans. They just aren't. And the reality is, even all over the world, sedans, they've really dropped off. It's not just a US thing. It's all over the world. It's Asia. It's Europe. It's all over the place. So my bet is on no. Paul, thank you. Thanks for the $2. Really appreciate that. Given what's coming up, is the Jaguar I-Pace still worth the money? I saw that. I reviewed it twice. I really like the I-Pace because I like its driving dynamics. It really is fun to drive. It's one of those things that I got in it and the hairs on the back of my neck went, wow, this is great. Same thing with Martin. Martin got in it when we were driving it to get the running footage. And, you know, he's a good driver and he loved that car. You know, it's expensive and it is technology that's getting older and older. I mean, they're updating the infotainment stuff, but the end of the day, if you can get a good deal on it, and I would say look really hard at the reliability data. I don't know what it is offhand. I know that Jaguar Land Rover is getting better, okay? So let's not just completely make fun of them because they are getting better. Okay. What is the most car-like SUV that I like? Let me think about that and get back to me. I'll get back to you on that. Ping me again if I forget. How is the battery on the Kia EV? The battery is fine. It's fine. I don't know what to say. It's fine and it charges really fast. Evan, yes, still have the ELR. Ownership experience has been flawless up until a couple weeks ago. I think I have a heater pump that has gone bad because I'm not getting any heat. The car is 7 years old right now, so that's the first thing that's really gone wrong with it. It's been a very good vehicle. In fact, there's a lot of chatter around that now that people aren't making fun of how expensive it was when it was first, debuted. I mean, mine stickered for like 82 grand, and I ended up getting it with federal tax credit for like 33. That people actually really like them. They're great cars. I don't think it's ever going to be a collectible because I think collectibles need to be known. People need to know about them before something becomes a collectible. It needs to be popular. Ed Starr, thanks for the $10, man. Let's see. You drove a RAV4 hybrid and was impressed by the smooth ride in the Ruby cabin. Not too big, not too small. Yes, exactly. And I am doing the Highlander hybrid for next week. I will go to Bend, Oregon in there. I like smaller vehicles because, well, I live in Seattle and it's just a lot easier to drive them. It just is. You're more relaxed. Americans tend to buy vehicles for those just in case moments. Well, we might have the in-laws come every other year, and so we should get a 3-row crossover. The reality is you can just take 2 cars, right? Or you can rent a car. I like smaller vehicles. If I have a bias of anything, it's that. Okay. Let's see here. Any insight why we can't buy an Ioniq 5? They simply can't make them fast enough. That's it. I mean, when you have a vehicle that's that good, demand is high. I mean, look at the Ford Bronco. look at the Maverick. Then there's also the supply chain. Same with the EV6. My dad is very proud. He does believe that he's the only person in the United States that actually paid under MSRP for his EV6. I think he got it for like $2,000 under, but it was in an area that doesn't really like EVs all that much, and it was brand new. So, yeah. There are just some vehicles that are hot and command a premium, and that's always been the case. My best thing is to say, look, shop around because there are dealers out there that are selling them for MSRP. You just have to wait a long time. So Ed, the RAV4 hybrid, yeah, it's an excellent vehicle, and like I said, I would really like to get my hands on the Sportage plug-in hybrid and the Tucson plug-in hybrid to see how those compare. You know, things are changing, right? And we need to be open to looking at different vehicles. So I will say once again, I really find that a lot of people will just go buy another RAV4, another Camry, another Honda Accord, another Chevy pickup, another Ford pickup. We're at that point, folks, where you're really doing yourself a disfavor by not shopping around and test driving and looking at different vehicles because there's a lot of great stuff out there and things have changed quite a bit in the last 5 years. Charles Peterson, thank you. You especially like to watch the blue 911 Turbo? Me too. That's the great thing about my job. I get all the benefits of Porsche ownership occasionally with none of the hassle and expense of owning one. I do like Porsches. Of course I do. Do you know if the Lincoln MKX is making the MKX is no longer in production, I believe. So sorry about that. Jesse, have I noticed the Big Three is releasing very, very nice electrified vehicles in China, but not over here? Mostly because the demand is through the roof in China. They have infrastructure there. The government is supporting it. Ours is only now starting to do that. The other thing is that General Motors, I know at least, is about to open the floodgates. So what they did was they spent an extra 18 months or so developing the Ultium system, which, if you're a nerd like me, is really cool. It's modular. It uses a wireless battery management system that saves weight and expense. It's a really neat system. Down the road, 7, 8, 9 years, if you need to replace a module, which I understand is very easy, and the battery chemistry is improved, it can talk to the wireless management system without any fuss or muss, and it'll say, hey, I'm the new kid and I have better chemistry, so use me first. There's all sorts of things. I could literally spend an hour talking about the Ultium system. It's that good. So the whole thing is they developed this system and now it's like Legos. They develop the cars. I want to say they said that there's going to be, in the next 2 to 3 years, 30 EVs coming to market in the U.S. My guess is they're going to be constrained by the production, the supply chain. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Oh, Evil Twin's not here. Sorry. I don't usually let him into the house. He normally steals stuff, so my wife gets nervous around him. I mean, he's my brother, but still, family, but family. It's nice listening to me speak about cars. Well, I do that a lot. my wife gets really tired, we're out and about and people will stop me and ask me questions. And she goes, I think I'm going to go ahead. She's very patient. Wagons making a comeback in the United States. It's not going to happen. You know what? Come on. SUVs are wagons. They are. They're lifted a little bit. But the reality is wagons, SUVs, hatchbacks, they're all very useful. I like wagons. My son, who is 25 years old, loves wagons. I brought him up right. But proper wagons are kind of going away. I mean, there might be a couple, but, you've never had a car, but you love the videos and visiting car museums. Thank you. You're welcome. I'm glad you're enjoying the videos. I put a lot of work into them, just because it's just kind of a labor of love. And Martin and I have a good time doing it. Are Ultium batteries that much better than Bolt EV batteries? Yeah, and KCW, I will get to you very soon. Thank you very much for your thing. Ultium batteries are significantly different from the LG Chem batteries that are in the Bolt. The Bolt is very affordable, and the Bolt is an excellent affordable vehicle. In fact, actually, my wife is actually thinking about buying one because she just wants a good basic car. And she's not really going to be doing much traveling. She knows her needs, but she wants to go fully electric. And so she's thinking about selling the Bolt. That's something that General Motors, talk to the marketing people. But yes, the Ultium system is very, very different. Even though that the LG Chem packs are supposedly good to go now. They have figured out the problems that were going on with those. KCW, thanks again. You love the effort? Thanks. You know what? I like it. I really enjoy shooting the videos. It's actually my favorite part. I don't really like being on camera all that much, but it's a necessary evil. I started as a news photographer, and the only reason I'm on camera is because when I was doing car review videos for King 5, the show host for the TV show that I was working on wouldn't be on camera talking about cars because he didn't know anything about cars. So my boss said, Voelk, put on a clean shirt and get a haircut. Trained monkey can be on TV. So that's how I got my start. Yeah, I'm always looking for nice backgrounds. And most of the suburbs I shoot in aren't in Seattle. A lot of times they're over on the east side. And I do that because oftentimes those nicer neighborhoods don't have cars parked on the street, and I'm always trying to crop those out. So you're paying attention to the vehicle that I am actually photographing. Is Geely doing right by Volvo? Yes, they are. I've talked to the Volvo people and I asked them about Geely, and they said after Ford, it was a breath of fresh air. Geely came in and said, look, we want you to build really super high quality cars with good design. Eventually we want to go electric. What do you need? How much money do you need? And the folks at Volvo said, we need this. And they backed the money truck up to the design center in Sweden and said, there you go have fun. And so, yes, I think Geely is probably the best thing that ever happened to Volvo. And that whole relationship is complicated, especially when you get into that whole thing with Polestar and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I really do. And, it benefits Geely too, because they're taking the platforms that Volvo has designed and putting it under different vehicles that are really more, based in China. Have I tested the BMW M3? Not the recent one. Sorry, would like to, but I haven't seen it in the press fleet. But I have driven the i4, which has similar performance. The one that I tested had the performance tires. Wicked fun, man. If you don't mind the loss of range with the performance tires, it's great. I can only imagine the M3 is better. If you like gasoline powered cars. There are advantages to EVs and gas powered. I'm not going to get into that, but saw VinFast cars from Vietnam at the big NYC show and have not seen any on the road yet. Apparently, the first couple thousand are making their way across the ocean right now. So it's going to be a while. It's a small company. It's a very new company. I have emails into them. I've been talking with their PR people. So I would like to get one soon. All right, let's move on. Yes. Our Bereka VinFast did just ship them. I was gonna do an Ultium, but it's kind of boring, right? That stuff is boring. I'm a video producer. That kind of thing is better for print media. If I could get into the lab and talk to people and dissect everything, then that would be cool. I would love to go to General Motors and the Ultium lab and do something like that. I've talked to them. I also want to do something on the Celestiq. That's the $300,000 Cadillac. That's an EV. Which should be interesting. Not sure that's going to work out because I don't know that people want to spend $300,000 on a Cadillac just yet. That kind of pricing could be ELR too, but we'll see. Okay. James Egg. My wife loves her 2005 Audi TT with the V6. Of course she does. The DSG transmission could die any moment, be more than it's worth. How do you convince her to sell it? I'm not going to get in the middle of that. She's your wife. I don't know. Maybe the $4,000 or $5,000 it will cost to repair that transmission is just the cost of saving your marriage. Who knows? Went to the Seattle Auto Month. Was very impressed by both the Audi Q4 e-tron and Chrysler Pacifica, less by the Toyota Honda offerings. Did I have a star of the show there? Yes. My star of the show was actually the Chevy Blazer EV and Equinox EV because General Motors made the effort to bring those vehicles to the show. Even though they're not producing them yet, they're probably still, 6 to 9 months away from production. That way people could see them and they could check it out. And before they spent a lot of money, they could see whether or not it's something that they could work. I really do believe that if everything goes right and if General Motors can actually market them correctly, because in the past, General Motors marketing has been truly dreadful. They couldn't sell the Volt, and the Volt was, quite frankly, an amazing vehicle. That's the big thing. You can build great vehicles, but it's the marketing. It really is. Marketing is really important. There are cars that I've seen that just haven't done well simply because of the marketing. Just because of the marketing. Brilliant cars. Akajimbo, thank you. I do try to do a good job. And I'm glad it's working out for you since you took my advice on 3 cars. Have I tried EV Go plug and charge on any of the vehicles? I haven't because EV Go is not really readily available in the Seattle area. There's one that I know about 8 or 9 miles from me on Capitol Hill and one at SeaTac Airport. I do need to try it out, but there are ChargePoint and Electrify America stations that are much closer to my house. So that's why I haven't tried EV Go. Philosophical question. My 15-year-old V8 manual all-wheel drive wagon will be retired someday soon. Is there any salve for my upcoming wound? Derek, Sorry, man. There's nothing like the sound of a V8, and there's nothing like a manual transmission. Um, I don't know what to tell you. Honda says that it's thinking about doing an artificial manual transmission in its electric vehicles, but the V8 is nearly gone. I mean, even pickup trucks are using, turbocharged V6 these days. It's just slowly going away. The CAFE regulations are behind that. Uh, Quaminim, I'm sorry, man. Lexus RX 500H, or just wait for the upcoming Mazda CX-90, which I suspect may be less expensive. Thanks. Thank you very much for the $10. You're the man. I don't know anything about the CX-90. I don't think it's been shown. Boy, the RX 500H, here's my thing with that. I think it's improved from the last generation, but in my opinion, I don't think Lexus did enough to really raise the bar on that vehicle. It's sort of maintained the line. It has to please current owners, and yet there's just something about it that just didn't make me go, wow. And especially since it's Lexus's most important product. Even Lexus says that it's the vehicle that built Lexus. And, yes, the LS sedan was the first to make people take notice of the brand, but the RX, since day one that it hit the shores here in the US, has been the best-selling Lexus by far, sometimes by 3 and 4 times over the other models. So I don't know. I was a little surprised that they didn't really ramp up a lot of stuff. I mean, the new user interface is better and all. I'm trying to think of any other alternatives. I mean, have you looked at the Acura super handling all-wheel drive MDX? I love that. I mean, obviously it's not a hybrid and it's a lot thirstier, but it's really quite good. Or, it doesn't have the name recognition, but how about a top line Hyundai Palisade? The Palisade is a brilliant vehicle, and with all the money that you save, you can, buy a lot of gas with the difference between the RX and the Palisade. Hope that answers your question. Any ideas when dealer lots will have stock to choose from? It's starting a little bit, but I really feel like it's going to be at least a year before things get back to normal. There are hundreds of thousands of vehicles that are parked, that are waiting chips. And, once those chips come in, there is going to be a lot of vehicles hitting dealer lots, but it's going to be a while. I really think that. Also, manufacturers have really learned an awful lot from this whole situation. And I think they've realized that instead of cranking out as many as they possibly can, and then when they don't sell, we throw rebates on the hood, that maybe they'd just like to make fewer ones and make more on each one. That's going to be interesting to watch over the next 5 years. All right. LA Auto Show and notice manufacturer absence. Any insight on why all the luxury brands except Genesis were not participating this year? Yeah, you know what? Apparently it's just super, super expensive to show up to an auto show, especially if you want to debut something. And, a lot of these manufacturers are saying, look, we're selling all the vehicles we can, especially in this economic climate, and with the supply chain shortage things. So, why spend $1.5 million to show up when we don't have to? Simple as that. And I kind of understand it. At the end of the day, though, I think that's kind of short-sighted. I think that once things start ramping up again, people like to touch and feel and experience their vehicles. And I am a firm believer that auto shows are the best way to do that because it's all under one roof. Many times you can test drive there. You can sit in it, you can touch it, you can see how big the trunk is, how big the back seat is. You can really tell the quality of the materials. And I think that going to an auto show and being able to do that is the best way to look at a car. Plus, you'll probably expose yourself to things that you hadn't even thought about. So I think those that are skipping the auto shows are eventually going to miss out. That's just my 2 cents. Nigel, thanks for the $5, man. The classy reviews. I'll tell my wife that. Why don't you see more Wrangler competitors? Am I alone in wanting a better renewed Chevy Tracker? You know, I don't know. I mean, I think it was brilliant of Ford to say, "Man, we've got to change, and we've got to offer the Bronco as a Jeep Wrangler alternative." Obviously, it's working really, really well for them. There are some people who were thinking that GMC is going to do that. I know that they had the Granite concept from years and years ago. The rumor is that Hummer is going to make a much smaller version of what they've got now. And so since General Motors is going all electric, my guess is that what you're going to see is a smaller Hummer to fill that bill. And Jeep has an electric vehicle coming on. But, there's also the Toyota 4Runner. The doors don't come off, but it's a good alternative. They're very, very good off-road. But yeah, I think there are automakers that are just leaving money on the table by not having a Jeep Wrangler competitor. There you go. Chevy should honestly keep the Bolt on the Ultium platform and give it a tad bit. Well, the Bolt is not on the Ultium platform. That's still on the LG Chem platform. And so the only reason that they'll keep the Bolt around is because it's selling really well and that the LG Chem plant is churning out batteries and they can sell, as long as they get people into their brand of vehicle, that's what they want to do. I think a lot of people think that they're going to discontinue the Bolt when the Equinox comes online. I don't think so. I think they're going to be sold at least for a year or two, the Bolt, together with the Equinox, because it's really a different vehicle. It really is. If you see it in person, it's like, oh, completely different. Which EV would you suggest in the $60K budget, Lyric or any other options? If you're looking at luxury, then I would say the two in that category are Lyric and maybe the upcoming Ioniq 6 if you're looking for a sedan, or the Genesis GV60. Personally, I'm a little lukewarm on the design of the GV60. It's just a little too quirky for my tastes. And honestly, once you see the Lyric in person and walk around it a little bit, you'll understand that it's a really cool vehicle. It's not retro, but in a way, it kind of brings back some of these small elements that you would have found in a early '60s Cadillac, but fully modernized. I suggest that you look at those two and wait for the Ioniq 6 to come on, because apparently the Ioniq 6 is going to be like a step up above the Ioniq 5. Derek W., thanks for taking your question. I'll enjoy the days I have remaining with the S4 Avant. That's a great vehicle. Actually, the current version of that, well, no, it's the 6. I love that vehicle. I mean, I'm probably not going to buy another gasoline powered vehicle. Just what I know and what I like about EVs. But man, those are great. I mean, geez, the RS6 wagon Avant. It's like Lord Vader, your car is ready. It's just such a great vehicle. New Ford Raptor R is $110,000, but I knew that. Oh well, uh, remember, automakers, they're in the business of making cars, but what they're really in the business to make is money, right? And if they can get it, um, they'll get it. And if not, they'll put a rebate on it. I bet they sell every single one that they can make. Just saying. Robert, Stillmaker, thanks. Appreciate it. Taeyong Kim, thanks for the great reviews. What do you think about the new Prius? I'm going to be driving it next week, and I'll be able to tell you more. I really don't like commenting on vehicles that I haven't driven, because sometimes you see pictures and they look great, and you see it in person, and it's ugly. And vice versa. And I've had that happen way too many times. So stay tuned. You will find out soon enough. I do like the fact that they're making it in all-wheel drive, and I do like the fact that the Prime is basically now the new Chevy Volt, because it's a plug-in hybrid and its range is considerably longer than it was before. I think it's good. And I will say this, a little bit of a commentary. There's a lot of people who are just outraged that the new Prius isn't a full EV. No, the Prius is a hybrid. Okay. It just is. And not that I'm old fashioned or anything, but the reality is, when you're doing marketing, everybody knows Prius as an EV, or I'm sorry, as a hybrid. And it's going to continue to be a hybrid. It's got a plug-in option. What Toyota really needs to do is create a new nameplate for their EV. Personally, I don't think the BZ thing is any good at all. I think it's horrible, actually. And it's confusing. People don't remember BZ4X, and I only remember it because, I write about cars, and I've had to write it about 30 million times. So anyways, there you go. That's my take on the Prius. Thanks for the great review. Let's see. Hello, are car prices still stupid high? Someone? Yes. Yes, they are. Do you know if I will do any more Lyric reviews? I really want to. What I would like to do is get the all-wheel drive version. If nothing else, I would like to get one that the one that I drove was literally Lyric number 3, right? So very, very early build, and quite frankly, had a few issues. The charge port door went like that when it opened. It was like, what? Come on, man, that's not a Cadillac. It's got to be much better than that. So yes, the Cadillac is a good enough vehicle that I would like to do an in-depth review of it. Yes, I do still have the ELR. Do I think it'll become a valuable classic? Total Sports, I like my ELR and I have it, but I do not think it's going to be one of those vehicles that is, outrageously collectible and all that, simply because it was never popular to begin with. It's like the original Mustangs. Wildly popular, started a new trend with the pony car stuff. But that's kind of why they're popular. Nobody knows about the ELR, so it's really kind of hard. Would I wish for it to be a collectible? Sure. I might get, more money for it when I sell mine, but I don't think so. I'm just being a realist here, but it is a cool car. I still get compliments on it. People cannot believe that there's an electric Cadillac, because they see it pulling up in electric power. All right, let's get through some of these. Bama Boy, good to be live. Let's see here. Are Korea manufacturers taking over Japanese manufacturers in terms of innovation, design, and quality? Akajibo, I kind of think so. I don't say that lightly because, obviously, the Japanese makers, they make some good cars. But the reality is, if you look at one of the South Korean products and you look at the major manufacturers from Japan, um, the Hyundais and Kias have all these surprise and delight things, and they don't just put you know automatic emergency braking on, but they go a level higher. All of the technology is a level higher. There are different things like Hyundai in the higher models. You use the turn signal, and you get the blind spot camera warning in your gauge cluster. It shows you if somebody is there. And I don't see that. I'm just impressed with the design of the Kia and the Hyundai products. They're really fun to look at. They're really fun to cover. And I just don't see that burning desire to really recreate that surprise and delight stuff from the Japanese manufacturers. And the one that might surprise you that I'm also impressed with is General Motors. If you're not paying attention, their newer vehicles look really good. They drive really good, and they've got interesting features, especially the new EVs that are coming out. Lots of stuff that I can't talk about, but I think you're going to be kind of surprised. I really do. The let's see. Let's see. My opinion on the new Toyota Crown. My opinion, I think it's a little weird. If I'm going to be really honest with you, it replaces the Avalon. I was never a huge Avalon fan. I always thought that the styling was slightly off. I think the Crown's design is wildly off. It just doesn't appeal to me personally. I mean, cars, of course, very subjective, but that's I don't know. I've seen it in person. I went to the launch, but I didn't go to the drive event. I don't know. It's not doing it for me. I think the drivetrains are great, but the design is a little odd. Peter, the Bolt seems to be gaining in popularity. Yes, it is. And you know what? It deserves. It's always been a very good vehicle. It's one of those vehicles that I've always recommended. Yeah, of course, they did have battery problems. But think about it. Between LG Chem and General Motors, they made good on it. They spent $2 billion to find out what the problem is, and they are replacing the batteries in all of those. They are being very proactive on that, and I'm very impressed with that. I mean, I'm sorry for people that lost theirs in fires and had house damage because of that, but we are in the early days of EV adoption, and it's not like other electric vehicles, like Tesla haven't had the same issues. Everybody's getting a handle on it. Everybody's figuring it out. So, but anyways, I still think that a used Bolt is an incredible value, especially since you're going to get a new battery. It uh, it's a good deal. Um, Ricky, yes, I will do. I'm going to be driving the Prius next week, and I don't know what the embargo is. So, but I'll get it up as quick as possible. Um, the Any thoughts on the 2022 Honda HR-V, the outgoing gen, the last Honda HR-V? I really liked it was huge inside for being a small car, and I really like the magic seat in the back that flips up. It's really great for dogs. The new one rides a lot better. It has a much better interior. The only thing I don't like about it is it's kind of pokey, and it is not any bigger on the inside. I mean, they talk about how much bigger the new HRV is, but on the inside, it's almost exactly the same size as the outgoing version. But if you do any type of driving that's even any distance, like, over 50 to, 75 miles, the new version is much, much more comfortable. It really is. Bama Boy, thanks for the $10. You're a Mercedes-Benz since the 1980s. To E-Class. In the market for a new one, do I stick with gas or it's time to go EQ? If so, with EQ SUV. Here's the deal, Bama Boy. Electrification really suits Mercedes well. I mean, the entire thing about being a luxury brand, it's whisper quiet, it's silky smooth, there's no vibration. The suspension, depending on what you get, isolates everything really, really well. You need to drive them, of course, because I don't make recommendations that people buy one thing or another because I have no idea what your wants and needs and likes are. But if it were me, and if you look at my EQB video, you'll see me talking about it, how electrification really, really makes the luxury vehicles exactly, what they're supposed to be, the whole thing about being quiet and refined. I would take a look at the EQ series. I really would. I think you'll like what you find. Hopefully that answered your question. Thanks again for the $10. How's my Miata NA? No news on updates on the ND. Really, I've kind of neglected my NA. It's sitting in the front and it needs a bath badly, and I need to work out. I was going to do it today, but I woke up to a bunch of snow on the ground, and I've got performance tires on my Miata. I am not going to be driving it in the snow. So it's doing okay, but bad me. I have not been taking care of it. Shoot. Do I see the used car market going down towards the pre-COVID pricing? I don't think it's going to be that low, but it is already dropping from what I understand. I've just read an article about it in Automotive News. And yeah, it is dropping a bit. Just be careful out there. Remember, when you're buying a used vehicle, have it checked out, okay? Spend the $100 because it might save you thousands of dollars. My opinion on the Nero. I drove it waiting for the new Prius. I like the Nero. I like the design of the new Nero. I especially like the EV version of the Nero, just simply because it's the quickest of the bunch, and the larger battery pack that's in the floor has noticeably better handling than the PHEV. And I have not driven the standard hybrid version, so that I can't tell you about, but I like it. It's got a roomy back seat. It's practical, all that good stuff. Gonna sell your mom's sweet Avalon. Well, I don't want to buy it. Sorry, but I have. There's somebody that asked about used car prices. Maybe you should talk to him, okay? You guys get together. The XTS, yeah, it's been a long time. I ride in them because there's a lot of when we land at the airport and we go to the hotel for the events, the XTSs are still around. I did talk to a guy, and he said he had, I want to say, 160,000 miles on his and hadn't needed any significant maintenance other than wear and tear items. So, yeah, that's all I can tell you about the XTS. Shoot, there was something up here. You've read a report that the HRV has terrible ratings on side impact. That may be true. I try to keep up on everything, but you know what? In the automotive world, there is a fire hose of information every single day, and it's all I can do to keep up with the stuff that I'm covering. and just keep my finger on the pulse of what's going on. So, there are sometimes people know a little bit more about one particular vehicle than I do. It's going to happen. But I'm assuming that the new version of the HRV is more safe. One of the reasons it's larger is because they have a larger crush zone. Akajimbo, thanks for the $5. You rock. The Range Rover or the Range Rover Sport, I was just thinking because I've got this Lexus GX that's parked in my driveway right now, and I thought to myself, I haven't seen the new Range Rover. On my list, would like to get to it. I really like Range Rovers. I really do. I understand why people buy Range Rovers. If you haven't driven one, you have to drive one. When you do, you'll understand why people buy Range Rovers. They're lovely machines to drive. 23, donate $1,000. Please, anybody, if you want to. Back in the day, I think it was like 6 years ago, when I dropped my camera, my very expensive Panasonic high definition news camera, literally destroyed it, broke the lens off and built the and bent the frame of the camera. It was a total loss. There was a very generous guy who said that he had been very, very lucky in life and he loved my videos so much that he actually donated $1,000 for me to help buy a new camera. And all of my supporters, you guys all came together and I was able to buy not just a new camera, but a new tripod and a better wireless mic and all that kind of stuff. So again, I have the world's best followers. You guys are truly awesome, but you don't have to donate $1,000. Maybe someday when I'm about to retire, I'll call on you all and everybody donates $1 and to the Buy Tom a Porsche fund. But, there are other people in the world that need the money a little bit more than I do. I'm a pretty lucky guy. Is the 2023 Pilot in my review queue? Not out. I was just talking to my contact at Honda the other day, and I kind of said to him, hey, man, how about me getting on one of your events? Because I would really like to do a video on the new Pilot. I haven't even done the new CRV yet. It hasn't been in the press fleet, and I wasn't invited to the event. Sometimes I'm invited, sometimes I'm not. Do you think the Lyric reception will inform what Lincoln's EVs will be? I don't think so. And I don't know what Lincoln is doing as far as their EV thing. At one point, I think everybody thought that they were going to use the Rivian platform, but then that seemed to go away. And I don't think they're going to be using the Mach-E platform because that's where Ford and General Motors differed. General Motors has the scalable Ultium platform. So you can build something as small as the Equinox or something as large as the Hummer EV, which, literally uses 212 Ultium levels of battery. The battery pack on the Hummer EV weighs more than a Honda Civic. And Ford didn't do that. Ford used its existing architecture for the F-150 Lightning and put battery packs between the frame rails to get it to market quicker, which is great because it is certainly getting a lot of positive attention. And the Mach-E, from what I understand, it's sort of like its own architecture. And my guess is that Ford is building something that's scalable and more cost effective going forward, like General Motors did. That's why General Motors is a little bit late to the game. They spent the extra time and thought out a strategy of how they could do it a lot more efficiently. All right. I'm going to be wrapping this up in about 5-10 minutes, just letting you know. I'll try to get through this stuff. Rich, yep, catch you. How long before EVs will be a 12-month car for Canada? You know what? It just depends on your needs. I grew up in northern Minnesota, not far from the Canadian border. Used to go to Thunder Bay, uh, so I could go drinking, because it was it was a year earlier in Minnesota than it was in Canada. So let's see here. You know what? It's all about battery chemistry. It's all about keeping the battery warm. I mean, the thing is that if you're charging at home and you have a heated garage, you certainly have an advantage there. And also, if you're preheating the battery when it's plugged in and preheating the cabin, it does a lot for efficiency. But since I'm not actively driving in those conditions, I am not going to pretend that I'm an expert on that part of it. Um, Have I driven a used EV with 100K? I have driven a friend's Model S with 100K. It's the only one that I've driven with, serious mileage. And you got to remember that there is no engine sound or transmission sound or anything to mask squeaks and rattles. When engineers are developing electric platforms, they really have to sweat the details, because any type of squeak or rattle you hear in an EV much, much more than you do in an ICE car. And I have to say, that Tesla rattled and creaked and groaned. It did. It kind of felt like a UPS truck. But that's back in the day when Tesla was not really doing a very good job of quality. I mean, I still see some glaring issues. They're certainly getting better. But yeah, the deal is with electric vehicles, the motors should last a long, long time. They're a lot less expensive to replace than a gas engine if they do need servicing. So the next 10, 15 years are going to teach us a lot. How do I feel about the Camaro versus the Mark V Supra and the new Z? Not having them back to back, and I'm not sure if you're talking about the 4-cylinder Supra or the 6. I've always felt like the Camaro has not gotten its due. You get behind the wheel of a Camaro, and if you can see out of it, I can see out of it okay, but the visibility in those things is awful. The Camaro is a brilliant car when it comes to handling, and General Motors does not get their due when it comes to chassis dynamics. Everybody thinks of BMW as the ultimate driving machine. The performance vehicles that General Motors tunes are very good. I mean, really good. I mean, at least on par with BMW. And in the case of the Cadillac CT4 and CT5V Blackwings, man, those cars are brilliant. I love driving those cars. Don't like paying the gas bill in them, but they're awesome cars. They really are. And Martin even asks, hey, can you get one of those Blackwings again? They're just loads of fun to drive. So with all of that, I would certainly make, drive the Cadillac. Okay. Do that. Because I'm sorry, the Camaro, they're excellent. And even the CT4 and CT5V, they're not the V Blackwings, but those cars are loads of fun to drive. The new Range Rover, stunning. I haven't seen one in person, but it sure looks great. Are the European luxury cars really less reliable and more expensive to maintain than Lexus? Michael, from what I understand, yes. But, here's the deal. If you have lots of money, maybe it's worth it. Personally, I really like the way Volvos and Mercedes and BMWs feel. It's an intangible, um, but I like them, and it's a very personal thing. If you maintain a vehicle, that makes a huge difference. JD Power does a lot of research into that kind of stuff. And, it depends on where you live. It depends on how you maintain the car. You can't just do this blanket, oh, X is more reliable than Y. I mean, statistically, yes, there are those things. But these days, the difference isn't as much as it used to be. I mean, back in the day, it used to be that the best vehicles were up here when reliability is concerned, and the other ones are way down by my knee. And now it's more like this. I know that Volvo isn't very well regarded when it comes to reliability. They're down towards the bottom, but boy, you know, I do like their cars. I really do. They just have a character about them. So that's all I can say about that. Buy the car you love. You'll keep it longer. You'll maintain it better. Snowed in Seattle today. What are you driving right now? Today I didn't drive at all, but I do have a Lexus GX, and tomorrow I'm getting a Bolt EUV. It's a sporty one. I can't remember it. JP Dunphy, thank you very much. Any car you absolutely cannot wait to drive, ICE, PHEV, or BEV. I'm very excited to drive the new Prius. I know that's sort of an oxymoron, but I'm very excited to drive that because I'm curious. I mean, it was such a goofy looking car before, and now from the pictures, it's gorgeous. I'm also driving the Kia EV6 GT, and I get to do that at a racetrack, so I'm very excited about driving that. I'm also very excited to drive and see the Ioniq 6. And I'm also very interested in seeing the all-wheel drive version of the Lyriq. Trying to think if there's anything else out there. I would like to get into a BMW M3 or M4. That's what's coming to mind right now. It's too bad that GM makes good cars. I would never buy one ever. Okay, well, then don't, I guess. I don't know why you wouldn't. They do make good cars, actually. Better than most people think. And it's not just because I own one. I don't care. I'm not really brand loyal. But General Motors makes great cars. And if you're not buying a particular car because of whatever reason, I guess you're cheating yourself. It's past your bedtime, Vishwa. Well, good night. I'd tuck you in, but that might be a little creepy. Okay. Is Toyota changing their design language to get more youthful buyers? I'm just going to take a couple more here, and before I go. Well, the new Prius sort of shows that they are. The Crown says no. The Prius says yes. So we'll see what the next couple vehicles from Toyota look like. Personally, not a fan of Toyota design language, but the new Prius might change my mind. Personally, right now, I think the best looking Toyota out there, when I look at things clinically, is actually the RAV4. It has a very distinct, direct design language that actually has purpose to the lines. I like that. And it might be the new Prius. I like simple, clean design. But I think the RAV4 is the best looking vehicle that the company does right now. Do we still have the Kia Soul? We do still have the Kia Soul. It is in Los Angeles right now because my son is going to school there. And yeah, it's still going strong. Gas and oil. Maintain your car and it will take care of you. JP Dumphy, just say which trim you want to drive, although I highly suggest. You know what? I would love to drive the M2 because you know what? I like smaller cars. Put me down for an M2 because I would like to see that design in person. I know it looks a little bit blocky in photos, but the M235 was literally one of my favorite BMWs. I loved driving that car. And I want to say that was like 5, 6, 7 years ago, but I still remember driving that car. You know, the cars that I like to drive, I will literally say, you know, I've got to take 3 hours and I'm just going to go drive this for fun. And I'm leaving my camera at home and I'm just going to go have fun. It's one of the advantages that I've got. Um, win the lottery and you might buy a money no object. I would probably buy a Porsche Taycan Turbo. I think that's what I would get. I really like the Porsche Taycan. I like the design. I like the performance. I like everything about it. So it isn't going to be happening because I don't play the lottery. But there you go. Volvo makes the most comfortable long road trips. Yes, that is true. I don't get out to New Jersey, JP. Not enough. I don't get out to New York as much as I used to when I was writing for the Times. And since they're not doing automotive at all anymore, I just don't get out there. But my wife, my daughter, is now living in New York, and we're planning to go out and see her. So I'll buy you a cup of coffee, okay? But I do enjoy driving your cars. I really like the iX. I mean, it's a little different looking. I think you've got to admit that, but it sure is a great car to drive. Great range, all that kind of stuff. You may have seen my review. When is the EV9 official release date? I don't know. I was at the Nero event and I asked them, and I think they're going to be debuting it soon. If not in the next couple weeks, it'll be after the holidays, just because, people are busy and they aren't focused on cars when the holidays are going around. Let's see. Maddie, do I think the Rivians are as good as off-roading as a Jeep? I don't know. I haven't driven a Rivian. I've heard they're impressive. I know that most people will never, ever, ever explore what a Jeep can truly do. So I am one of those people that will say, technically, one vehicle may be able to, do better than another. And that's, talking about performance cars on a track and all that kind of stuff. But, at a certain point, what it really depends on is the skill of the driver, right? So when you see these car and driver comparison tests, and there's a razor thin margin between these vehicles, you have to remember that these guys are excellent drivers, like really good drivers, some of them competition drivers. And most people don't have that kind of driving skill. And it applies to off-road chops as well. All right. Will I be doing the auto show? I don't know. Is the Detroit Auto Show going to be happening? I don't know. I know that, it's a little iffy. You're not Maddie. That's just my channel name. Oh, carry in. Okay. All right. Well, wait for Cayman GTS 4 or use turbo just for fun. You know what? It's a personal thing. My favorite Porsche, gas powered Porsche is a 911 GTS. It's not a GT3, but it's enough performance for me. I mean, you can't even approach the limits of that vehicle on a public road, because if you do, you should be in jail. They're just supernatural. And so I'm just a pragmatic Midwest raised boy. So, you know, I understand that there are some crazy powerful cars and amazing handling vehicles, but when it comes to my own stuff, you know, I don't need the top of the line. So, anyways, all right, folks, I've got to run. My wife has dinner on the table, but the next review will be happening next Tuesday. It's going to be the Toyota Highlander Hybrid, where I see if it gets better fuel economy than a two-row standard gas-powered, crossover. Go to Bend, Oregon, because I like going to Bend. It's a great way to check out range and all that kind of stuff. So I'll take the last one. Have I ever considered joining Edmunds Carfection driver? Um, you know what? It would require travel. Um, you know what? I've got my own gig happening here, and I really like it. It's really nice to be my own boss. My own boss, as far as my boss is concerned, I typically put 60, maybe 70 hours when everything is said and done to get these reviews up. So it's not like I'm lazy, but I do like being my own boss. Um, I really truly admire the folks at Edmunds and Car and Driver, and I love talking with those writers. They're great folks. I always say, don't just look at my reviews, look at everybody's reviews because it's like a car. You need to look at a whole bunch of different things. So no, I've never really thought about joining those. Nor have they asked. But really loved being part of the New York Times. It was good, but I kind of like being independent. There you go. All right, folks. Hope you had a good time. Hope I wasn't too boring, and I will catch you more. Let me know if you think I should be doing these more often. I know my people at YouTube say that I should, but sometimes I just think, once a month or so is enough. But let me know. Okay. Happy holidays. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. Cheers.